This is Corrections Unlocked. What's up, guys? I'm Alex Duran. Thanks for tuning in to Corrections Unlocked. Here at Corrections Unlocked, we share knowledge, we share experience, and we show you how to be the best version of yourself as a correctional officer. On today's episode, we're going to go over self-discipline for a correctional officer. And why is self-discipline important? Why is self-discipline important not only for a correctional officer, but for anybody in general? To me, self-discipline is the foundation of trying to be the best version of yourself, to push yourself to be at your fullest potential, and to really seeing what you're capable of. Self-discipline is something that correctional officers struggle with day in and day out, 1 year, 10 year, 20 years, officer, sergeant, lieutenant. You're constantly challenging yourself and trying to understand where you're at. So if you lack self-discipline like everybody else does, you need to figure out where you're at right now with your self-discipline so that way we can try to progress it. Why is self-discipline something correctional officers struggle with? My opinion, I think correctional officers, number one, will struggle with self-discipline because of the environment we work around is very negative. The things that we see are very tragic, and we think negative thoughts. I read somewhere that I want to say we have 80,000 thoughts a day. 60,000 of those thoughts are negative thoughts. 60,000 of those thoughts are negative. We're telling ourselves negative thoughts day in and day out. And then we put ourselves in a correctional setting around inmates, around a lot of negative energy, a lot of violent people. That's ultimately going to bring negative thoughts into our head even more. So if we're already thinking 60,000 negative thoughts a day for the average person, put yourself in a correctional facility, a maximum security prison, wherever it is you work at, whether it's a county jail, federal jail, state institution, private jail even, you're going to see negative things. You're going to be talked to, down upon. You're going to be yelled at, cussed at, spit on, shit on. You're going to have to fight certain people you don't want to fight. And ultimately, you have to be the positive person in that area. You have to prove to yourself that this is something you can do. When you don't do that and you give up, you can just see it in people's eyes. You can see it in people's face. They don't give a shit. That's not what you want to be. That's not who you are. So I challenge you to ask yourself, where are you at with your self-discipline, and who in your life is showing you self-discipline right now? Who can you actually think about right this minute and be like, that person has self-discipline. That person keeps their word. A lot of us have a lot of friends. A lot of those people don't ever check up on us, don't ever ask us how we're doing, don't give two shits about where we're at, what our goals are. Those are the kind of people I'm asking about. Maybe two, maybe one, maybe none. So I ask you to challenge yourself. Ask yourself, which of my friends have self-discipline? And what am I doing right now that's taken away from my self-discipline? There's a lot of little things that we do that take away from self-discipline. Being a correctional officer and dealing with negative environment, negative partners, people are disgruntled, people that talk shit to you, whether it's a funny thing or it's a serious thing. However you progress it or process it, it's up to you. And we're going to build up negative thoughts in our head. We're going to talk shit to ourselves in our head. And ultimately, we're just going to put ourselves down even more. So how do you build yourself up? How do you put yourself in a positive mindset? It really starts with knowing what we're doing right now that's negative. And what are we doing to take away from our self-discipline? So some of the things I notice that I've done, they're little things and they may sound stupid, but it started with worrying. I was worrying about shit I had no self-control over. I was worrying about things that were the what if that never fucking happened. And I'm constantly draining myself. I'm constantly worrying, and it's just eating me up. You know, whatever it is you're worrying about in your head, depending on where you're at in your life or where at in your career, whether you're an officer, sergeant, lieutenant, manager, you could be dealing with a lot of different types of stress. Being a manager can be a very stressful thing, trying to run a facility. There's a lot of stuff that go into play that officers don't get to see. And then being an officer, what type of stress are you dealing with? You can be dealing with stress on the facility with your partners, with different types of inmate. Everybody has different types of stress. how are we taking control over that? So if we're worrying about these things that we can't control, we have no control over, that's just eating us up. It's eating us alive. That's number one. We got to stop doing that right there. And you got to ask yourself, what am I worrying about? And if I can't do anything about it, how do I stop myself from thinking that way? It starts with keeping your mind busy with positive things. If you're putting yourself around negative people, around negative energy, you're ultimately going to be doing negative shit. So don't put yourselves around the type of people that you know are negative in your life. If they're not bringing any positivity in your life, you need to stop hanging out with them immediately. Negative energy is horrible. With all this shit you put in your head, with all this shit that you see, with all this shit that you're going to see if you're a newer officer, you got to start putting yourself around positive people, people you want to be like, people that you know will actually ask you, how are you doing? And they fucking mean it. Not somebody that's asking you, how are you doing? And then 10 minutes later, they're asking you to borrow $1,000. People are going to use you day in and day out. Don't be around those people. Worrying's a big thing. And then something as little as this, just like screen sucking, watching TV, Netflix, YouTube, whatever it is. A lot of us spend a lot of time watching games, checking stats on certain things. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I do it. We all do it. But how fucking long are you doing it for? Are you watching TV for 3-4 fucking hours? Are you sitting there scrolling for 3-4 fucking hours? Think about that. So if you have self-discipline and you can take that 3 hours down to 2, the 2 hours down to 1, and put that other extra hour or 2 into something positive, something that's going to benefit you, something that's going to actually, you can grow from. That's the mindset you have to have. Stop worrying about things you have no control over. Stop watching things or screen sucking for 2, 3, 4 hours a day when you could be doing something that's going to benefit you the next day. Maybe you can write a workout routine for the next day. Maybe you can just write out your day routine on what you're going to do that day. Whether it's, hey, you know what, for work, I'm going to knock this out. I'm going to knock that out. I'm going to prioritize this. I'm going to have a meeting for this. Or if you're an officer, I'm going to get to work. I'm going to be on time. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to make sure I eat my meals at this time and this time. Self-discipline, self-control is where it's at. It's where you can really see where you're at. It's how you grow. It's how you believe in yourself. Going back to the negative thoughts, you are your worst own enemy. So if you're telling yourself negative thoughts day in and day out, you need to flip that and start telling yourself positive thoughts. If you're not happy with how you look, if you're not happy with where you're at in your career, do something about it. Take a good hard look at yourself and ask yourself why you're not happy with yourself, because ultimately it starts with accepting yourself. You have to accept yourself. You have to love yourself, and you have to stop putting yourself last. Whether you're a dad, whether you're a husband, a wife, whether you have 20 fucking kids, which I hope you don't, but if you do, God bless you. But say you have a huge family and you keep putting yourself last. That's a horrible thing. You need to put yourself first. And I don't say that in a bad way or whatever. I say that is you have to put yourself and make yourself a priority. So that way you can push yourself to be the best version of yourself as a man, as a woman. So that way when you're prioritizing and you have self-discipline and you're challenging yourself and you're growing, you can be the best version of yourself for your family. Maybe you can prioritize little things as, you know what, I'm going to spend an hour tomorrow with my kids doing this. I'm going to spend an hour or 2 with my wife, with my lady doing this. If you don't prioritize, shit gets complicated, shit gets lost, and you never do it. And then that leads to one day, 1 week, 1 month. Your kids don't know who you are. Your wife lost connection with you. Your family forgot who you are. You start losing everything. And ultimately, it's your fault. You had no self-discipline, no self-control to better yourself. I'm not saying I'm perfect because I've done all these things. I've struggled with all these things. But I've tried to see the other side of it, the positive aspect of it. And what can I do? What can you do to be a better person, to be a better correctional officer? And I wanted to bring this up because working in a correctional facility can be very challenging. And to some people, that's going to sound stupid. To some people that, work in an easy area or haven't really experienced hard times are not going to understand that. But if you're a correctional officer, you need to understand that this is a career. It's not a job. You're going to be doing this not for 2 or 3 years. You're going to be doing it for 20 or 30. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and you need to figure out how to get at your own pace. I'm not much of a fast runner in general, so that's not really my cup of tea, but I'm just pretty slow all the way around, but I'm getting by. I'm getting by so far. So yeah, make yourself a priority. Try to understand how to make yourself a priority, and it starts with self-love. A lot of us spend way too much energy trying to chase what we think is love, or what we think is what we want, when it's not. What we need to try to understand is the person we want to be, the person we think is attractive, is the person we need to become. You don't need to be chasing anything but yourself. You need to focus on where you're at. You need to focus on becoming the person you want to be, on the person you want. And ultimately, those things will self-attract. You don't need to chase anything but yourself. Tell yourself, I love you every day. Tell yourself, I'm pretty, I'm handsome. Stupid little things like that, I know, sound weird. But do it for 2 weeks and just see how much difference you'll start thinking positive thoughts. Positive thoughts instead of negative thoughts. And then start setting priorities on what can I do different tomorrow so that way I can have a better day. If you're struggling with fitness, try to do something simple as walking. Try to do something as simple, hey, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go walk around the block 4 times. You don't want to get up and go walk? Just get up and read a book. Try to eat something more healthier. Have some type of tea that's healthier, whatever it is. I don't know everything. You probably can look up something that will benefit you a little better when it comes to nutrition. But it starts with you taking on the challenge for yourself and having self-love for yourself. Self-discipline. Make yourself a priority. Love yourself. Put yourself around positive people. Whatever's going on in your life that you can't control, get it out of your head. There's no point in wasting your time and energy right now and worrying about somebody that left you, worrying about some case that you can't fix until you're actually there. Whatever it is, get it out of your head. And how do you get it out of your head? That's impossible, right? I'm constantly thinking about this thing. Okay, if you can't control what the outcome's going to be, you need to keep yourself busy with positive things. Whether it's reading a book, whether it's creating a workout routine, whether it's trying to eat healthier, whether it's talking to your wife, your husband about their issues, about what you want to do to be more positive, or about what you expect out of a relationship, you need to figure out self-discipline, self-control, prioritizing. These things are huge for us, mainly as correctional officers, because we're in a very negative environment. We don't get up and go to an 8 to 4 banker job where we talk to people and we're wearing nice, sexy clothes and everybody's happy-go-lucky and Karen's talking mess about so-and-so. There's a lot of mess talking going on, but there's also a lot of violent stuff going on. And things can be going really good, and then an alarm kicks off. We're full sprinting to an incident. We have no idea what's going to happen. We don't know if an inmate's getting hurt. We don't know if he's getting critically injured. We don't know if it's an officer getting beat up to the point to where we are not going to recognize their face. We don't know what is going on, but we think the worst things ever, and we get there and we try to perform at our best ability. Or I hope you do, at least. And that really just depends on where you're at with your self-discipline, where you're at as a correctional officer. If you're having a negative day and you have no self-discipline and you're struggling with all these different things in life, you're probably just going to half-ass go into that alarm or not be at your fullest capability. And how are you going to feel if one of your partners is getting beat up? One of your partners is getting hurt? You're going to have the damn what if. Man, what if I would have been there faster? Or what if I would have been more fit? Or what if I would have went to sleep earlier that day and been at my fullest capability? Stop having the what ifs and start doing the right nows. Start believing in yourself. Start putting positive energy in yourself, accepting where you're at, accepting yourself, loving yourself. Stop chasing people that you think are perfect, you think that are going to benefit you. Get rid of all that and start focusing on you and how to be the person you want to be. And eventually you'll attract the person you want. That's what I think is self-discipline. I think it's very important for correctional officers, officer, sergeant, lieutenant, manager, any type of, just anybody in general. So that's what I got for today, guys. What is self-discipline to you? Where are you at in your career? And what are you doing right now to fix it? Positive thoughts, not negative thoughts. 60,000 thoughts a day that are negative. It's time we start putting at least 5 or 10 in our head every morning. Thank you, guys. I'm Alex Duran. Thanks for tuning in Corrections Unlocked.